want to welcome all of you to this afternoon's roundtable discussion, panel discussion from across the country. This is a great opportunity for us to come face to face with our friends, our children from various communities across the country. This afternoon we have children from Mumbai, Kanpur, Virudhunagar, Rajamundry, who have joined us to share their stories. Tomorrow, in a very strange way, we come together to observe a World Day Against Child Labor with a backdrop of, depends on who you ask, these statistics. We have about 17 million children who are child laborers and many more who are probably hidden from our statistics and measurements. So we want to welcome all of you on air. And let me introduce my friends from our communities first. From Mumbai, we have Anmol and John. Welcome. Thank you very much for taking time. Moses is standing in there to help us in the translations. Okay, from Virudhunagar, we have Mariamma and Irulappan. If you could say hello. Yes, and then we have Sam, who is helping us with the translations there. And then we have from Rajamundry, Brahmana, and who is helping us, and we have children Veeramani and Achut who are joining us. One of the common themes among all these children is the fact that for them child labor is not simply an issue, has been an experience, real life experience that they've gone through. So we are listening to flesh and blood aspects of child labor, not just simply statistics. For them, statistics never bleeds when it comes to these children. They experienced it. They know what it means. So I want to welcome all our children to this afternoon's panel discussion. We also have eminent experts among us who have thought through this issue of child labor and worked hard to make child labor history in our country. I want to recognize the presence of Shireen Khan, who is our senior specialist on child labor South Asia with the ILO. As ILO as an institution has done some excellent work in setting parameters, setting standards for governments when it comes to the issue of child labor. And she is part of the technical support team for South Asia. Shireen, want to welcome you and thank you for giving us this time this afternoon. And then we want to also recognize the director of Chetna, a very respected civil society NGO, investing heavily in training, Sanjay Gupta. We want to welcome you, Sanjay. Thank you very much for taking this time to be with us this afternoon on this important issue. Then my colleague Rennie Jacob, he is the Director for Advocacy with World Vision India. Rennie, thank you very much for hosting our Delhi panel there. And I think our friends from Kanpur have joined. Let me just see whether we have Shiva, Vandana and Ravi. Are you there? Shiva, Vandana and Ravi? Yes. So there have been some connection issues there. I'm glad to recognize, and Kahor is standing in there to translate for our children. So I want to get started this afternoon with some preliminary questions that we have, and just as a conversation starter, I just want to ask our children in the panel this afternoon, for you, when people say child labor, children are working, children are employed, children are earning wages, what has it meant for you?
माझा नाम अनमोल मेरा नाम अनमोल है.
My name is Anmol.
Yes, Anmol.
Yes. सर मैं 12 साल की उम्र से ही कैटरिंग लाइन में मतलब बर्तन घस रहा हूँ. मतलब पढ़ाई कर रहा था, 5वीं तक ही पढ़ाई किया था वहाँ तक, और 12 साल की उम्र मतलब बर्तन घसना या छोटे मोटे काम करता था. मतलब मेरे पेरेंट्स मतलब मम्मी और पापा हैंडीकैप है, उनको चलने या फिरने नहीं होता.
Yes. So Moses, you want to translate, so children from other communities are able to understand?
Yeah, my name is Anmol, and I'm working since my childhood. And I used to go for this catering work. I'm washing the vessels there. My parents are not able to walk. My mother is bedridden, and my father is also physically challenged.
Hmm. What are you doing, Anmol, now?
यस सर।
क्या
What are you
क्या कर रहे
doing?
हैं?
सर अभी मैं पढ़ाई कर रहा हूँ, 11वीं में हूँ। कभी कभी सर काम आएगा तो मैं काम करता हूँ सर, अभी भी वही काम कर रहा हूँ सर। मतलब बर्तन घसना या छोटे मोटे काम हो, वो यहाँ से वहाँ सामान यहाँ से वहाँ करना, अभी तक वही कर रहा हूँ सर।
I'm doing a
Hmm.
small work, and I'm studying in college. I'm studying in a night school. Is
Hmm.
telling.
Hmm.
A small work I am doing with the caterers, and some work is there, so I can do that work also.
Hmm. Anmol is 19 years, Moses.
Yes, sir.
यस सर।
Hmm. Anmol, just because you started the conversation, I just wanted to ask you if there is one thing our country and our government should do to eliminate child labor, what would that be?
अगर
To
जर गव्हर्नमेंटला जर इच्छा आहे की जे बालकामगार आहेत त्यांचा समूह नष्ट करणे, बालकामगार राहून न देणं, त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला काय वाटते की कोणती गोष्ट गव्हर्नमेंटनी करायला पाहिजे?
सर पहले सरकार ने देखने चाहिए कि कौन से बाल कामगार यहाँ पे काम करते हैं, या उनके देखना चाहिए, उनकी इच्छा क्या, उनका पढ़ना चाहिए आगे, उनका क्या सोच है, उनको देखना चाहिए। उनकी आदतें ऐसे छीननी नहीं चाहिए सर। अगर बच्चे काम कर रहे हैं तो उन्हें जाके पूछना चाहिए आपको काम करना अच्छा लगता है या पढ़ाई करना अच्छा लगता है। अगर पढ़ाई करना अच्छा लगता है तो आप काम क्यों करते हैं? तो उन्हें उनके उनके हिसाब से उन्हें मतलब जीना चाहिए, उन्हें उन्हें खेलना चाहिए और बच्चों के जैसा वहाँ घूमना चाहिए, यहाँ पे उन्हें एंजॉय करना चाहिए। उनकी आदत इन्हें इस तरह छीनना चाहिए सर।
yeah,
Anmol is telling that government should ask to the children that whether he wanted to work or play, and the children need independence. So they
hmm.
can play, they can ride, they can go to the school freely.
Hmm. Mariamma, at what age was she employed? What was the work she was doing?
எந்த வேலை செஞ்ச ஃபர்ஸ்ட்? சொல்லுங்க சொல்லுங்க.
Stabilizer, sir.
Sir, she used to work in one of the factories where she has to connect the wires in the stabilizer. It is like she
Okay,
has to
okay.
connect the wires in the stabilizer. It was a kind of a project of the factory, sir.
At what age was it?
When in the class படிக்கும்போது,
Ninth.
when she was studying 9th standard, sir.
But she had to work also.
Yes, sir. Because she had to discontinue, and then because of the family situation, she had to work in this factory, sir. எவ்வளவு சம்பளம்?
Okay. And what is the family situation that forced her to work?
Family custom, sir.
என்ன கஷ்டமா? Explain.
அப்பா இல்ல சார், அம்மா மட்டும்தான்.
She said she has no father and only the mother was supporting the family, sir.
Okay.
அண்ணன்கள் படிச்சிட்டு இருந்ததுனால நான் மட்டும் ஸ்கூல் போனேன் சார்.
Hmm.
படிச்சிட்டு இருந்ததால அப்பா மட்டும் பார்க்க வேண்டியது சார்.
Because this family is blessed with two boys and one is Mariamma, sir. Two boys, elder, and one is Mariamma. And because all the three were studying, the mother felt that this is the right time for the daughter to drop out and support the family, sir.
Shireen, can I pick your brain and experience? Uh, as a girl and as a child laborer, is there a double disadvantage that we as a country need to address? Our laws need to be sensitive to? Or is our laws too gender neutral?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jeff, for highlighting this very, very important issue. Girls are certainly at a disadvantage in all types of child labor situation. In many countries, because I cover South Asia, I also bring experience from other countries. Many countries, it is also much more difficult for girls to get into school and to stay in school to complete their education. Now, this year, the World Day Against Child Labor that we are marking here,
Hmm.
It's focusing on the situation of child domestic labor.
Mm.
And as we all know, many of the children who are involved in working in homes, in third-party homes, in homes of other people, are, whether it is paid work or unpaid work,
Mm.
the
Mm.
majority are girls. So it is very important for governments and also for organizations and agencies
Mm.
like ours and like yours and like Chetna who work at the local level to
Mm.
have special strategies
Mm.
to get girls out of child labor and to get them onto the path of education and training. There are also a lot of customs and traditions
Mm.
that go to keeping girls in child labor, particularly domestic
Mm.
child labor,
Mm.
where people they're protected, but actually there's a lot of exploitation that goes.
Mm. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you. Let me go to Brahmana. Brahmana, you there? Okay. Let me ask our the friend there, our Veeramani, is it? Veeramani, what are you doing now? What is she doing, Brahmana?
She is now doing part-time job, sir. She is working in automobile shop now.
Is she studying?
Automobile shop. Yes, sir. She is studying correspondingly. Second year degree, sir.
Second year degree, she's doing correspondence.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. And Sanjay, I just wanted to check with you this whole right to education piece that we have over the last 1 or 2 years. We've been at least referring to it as a possible way forward. Would you see? Do you see that addressing the issue of child labor, or is it just simply missing the point?
Is unfortunately not going hand to hand. For the very purpose the right to education was made, that every child should be in the school, and by definition, which is now common among all of us, if
Hmm.
any child is not in school, can be considered as child labor.
Hmm.
So we are finding irony that most of the children are still away from the education system, and
Hmm.
to me, that just by saying that we have right to education in place does not mean that we have a quality education, quality teaching staff, quality access, quality issues. For example, you raised the issue of gender. We have seen the schools are still not equipped with the toilets, which is a very basic need for any girl child to go to the school. So I think we need to do a lot on this issue, and
Hmm.
this is and always I think on those lines. If we keep continuing like this, then even our children will lose faith in the system, because many of the children have left their child labor work
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
and they have gone to the school. But if
Hmm.
the school are not able to hold them properly, then they will lose the faith in the system.
Hmm. And actually, the first place you want to measure the effectiveness of right to education is the reduction of child labor, and
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
look
yeah.
like somehow they are connected,
Yes, yes.
unfortunately. Hmm. Thank you,
And we
Dr.
have.
Sanjay. Go ahead, Sanjay. You were saying something.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
was just,
Sanjay.
I just wanted to say that, for a child, for example, like the organizations like Chetna and World Vision, they're trying their level best to get children to school. And I have seen that a child who is 13 years or 14 years of age, and when
Hmm.
he or she, passed through OBE, Open Basic Education, a third standard exam, you can
Hmm.
see the happiness in his or her face.
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
for a privileged child, maybe like once we get the admission in the university, then the
Hmm.
kind of happiness you can see in our face is the same you can see in the child who has just passed third standard and 13 and 12 year of age. So you can see that education can make a difference on
Hmm.
these children.
Hmm.
But
Hmm. Hmm.
we have to seriously think on how can we make our education system more effective.
Hmm. 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 Let me just go on to Mumbai, and Moses asked the question to you, to the children there. some of them have started studying. What difference did education make in their own self-esteem and the role that they are playing in society now? Like Sanjay just mentioned, that education can have such a liberating effect. How do our children there see? Let me probably ask John. Is John there? Moses? Yeah, John. Moses, John, what are you doing? What are you studying?
हेलो
Yeah,
सर,
John,
मैं
go on.
मैं
Go
स्क्रीन
ahead.
पेंटिंग का काम करता हूँ और 10वीं का एग्ज़ाम भी कंप्लीट करा।
You're finishing your 10th standard exams. Okay.
Yeah, 10th standard examination he has finished and just given, and he's doing a work as a screen printing.
Okay. Now I'm the specific question that Sanjay raised was, how does he see the value of education in relation to being a child laborer earlier and now someone who's pursuing studies?
आपके जीवन में आप जो है अभ्यास को किस प्रकार से देखते हो, या अभ्यास करने से या तो पढ़ने का, और चाइल्ड लेबर का क्या डिफरेंस?
मेरे जीवन में मैं पढ़ाई को इस तरह देखता हूँ कि आगे बढ़ के मुझे कुछ भविष्य मिल सकती है या कुछ गवर्नमेंट जॉब मिल सकती है अच्छा पढ़ाई करने से, क्योंकि मेरे घर पे किसी के पास भी अच्छा काम नहीं है और कोई अच्छा कमाने वाला नहीं है, इसलिए मैं पढ़ाई बहुत अच्छी तरीके से करना चाहता हूँ।
I'm looking a future in education, and I wanted to learn so many things because I desire to have some job, most probably in a government, because in my family is nobody having a good job. We all are doing some labor work.
Moses, I just wanted to raise another question with regard to child labor. When Amol and John were employed, did they ever go to the police to complain about their employers or their working conditions or anything? Just ask them.
जब आप लोग काम कर रहे थे तो क्या आप पुलिस स्टेशन कभी गए और जाके कुछ कंप्लेन वगैरह किया आपके जो मालिक है उसके बारे में?
यस सर, मैंने कंप्लेंट कुछ नहीं किया।
You never did?
No, never gone.
Did they know child labor was abolished, or did they know that there is a law against child labor? Just ask.
क्या आपको पता है कि बाल कामगार जो है वो कायदा के विरुद्ध है और बाल मजदूरी हम लोग नहीं कर सकते? आपको पता है?
यस सर, हाँ सर, पता है सर।
But why did you not? Why, did anybody complain saying that you as children are employed wrongly?
किसी ने आपके बारे में कंप्लेन किया है कि आप लोग बच्चे हैं और काम कर रहे हैं?
ऐसा कुछ इसलिए बोला नहीं सर।
नहीं सर, ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं हुआ। जब मैं एक कंपनी में काम करता था तब चेकिंग के लिए 2 पुलिस लोग आए थे और उन्होंने हमें देख के उधर पे मतलब हमारे ओनर को वार्निंग भी दी। उसके वजह से उन्होंने मुझे निकाल दिया, मगर निकालने के वास्ते मुझे 3 महीना बहुत तकलीफ झेलना पड़ा।
When I was working in one company, the 2 policemen came to our company and they talked with our owner, and they warned to our owner that this child should not be in your company, and my owner removed me from that company. So I had a very big trouble in that 3 months.
Rennie, can I just ask you a question? In terms of it's well and good for us to have a law that abolishes child labor, but this becomes the results of when you enforce the law, that the children lose the job. Any advice on how we have handled it in World Vision?
Yes, the greatest concern of civil society is on this, in the sense that once we ban child labor, what happens to the children, especially those children above 14 and 18? So it is important that along with the ban, there should be focus on rehabilitation of children, age-appropriate rehabilitation, like education, those who can go for education or skill training or whatever is possible at that age. That is very important. In our context, like evaluation communities, we focus very much on enhancing the income level of the parents, because that is the exact reason for parents sending their children to any kind of labor. No parents will really send their children to labor if they have any other alternative way of handling it. So the best way is to see that parents have some additional income, their income level is increased. So Television has in all our 160 locations a special component on economic development with special focus on most marginalized and vulnerable families so that their household resilience will increase so that no child will go to employment. So that is one thing we focus. The other one is on education. We want to see that all children are in school. Those children who are of school age and not attending the school are potential child laborers. So all children should be in school. And also we believe that it should be till 18 years and it should not be 14 years. As the new amendment also talks about a kind of a definition of child below 14 and adolescent between 14 and 18, allowing adolescents, the 14 and 18 group, to do non-hazardous work. But one good thing is that below 14 now it is kind of the proposed bill says that it should be banned. Below 14 there will not be any child labor at all. That is a good step, but that is not enough. Thank you. Sanjay wants to say.
Sanjay, you want to say something? Sanjay and Dr. and Shireen, on the unintended negative effects of applying the law.
Sometimes I go through a little confusion that we have the best laws in India now. We have the best laws. Legislative Act is in place. We have the prohibition, prevention, various aspects of it. But I think somewhere the a will, which I would like to say maybe a political will or something like a social will, which is missing. Like for example, जो अभी हमारे बाल साथी ने एक बात कही कि वो काम कर रहे थे तो पुलिस वालों ने आके हटाया और उसके बाद 3 महीने के लिए उनको खाली बैठना पड़ा. The child has to away from work and then he has nothing to do for 3 months. I think this is the little irony that if we don't have alternatives, if we have no alternatives in place and if we just keep staying away from child labor, that will not serve the purpose. I think we all need to think on that we should have best homes for the children who we would like to rehabilitate. Then, Mr. Rini has just raised one example of raising the income of the family, which can help because there are root causes behind every child's history that why he or she is working. So until unless those issues are addressed, I think the problem will not be able to resolve in such a fast time. So I'm very pessimistic that one day will come when India can say with proud that we have no child labor now. But that year or that will take time. So until as we have the wills, maybe a social will or political will in place, it will take time.
Shireen?
Thank you. I just go back to the earlier question of the importance of a wholesome and holistic approach. Because the reason we say child labor is a very complex issue, one of the reasons is that there are so many elements that go into creating it, and even more elements that go into solving the problem. So yes, education is absolutely critical. Right, relevant, accessible education that leads to on the path to skills training, vocational training, youth employment, and productive adulthood earning. The child's family also needs employment and social protection. The family has to be able to afford even free education has costs. But then what happens when there are shocks to the family? If there's a tsunami or if the bread earner passes away or, does the child have to drop out of school and go to work? No, there should be social protection measures. And also at the workplace, there has to be a dialogue, there has to be a communication between the employers and the workers, the trade unions, so that employment does indeed provide decent work opportunities and it's not underemployment. So there are all these issues that need to be taken care of. And again, this brings us to the important issue of coordination, collaboration, and convergence. Because governments and agencies cannot be dealing with these issues separately in silos, unconnected. We have to all work together. Governments have to work together to make it work for the children.
Good. Let me just talk to my colleagues Sam, Moses, Brahmana, and Kahor. What we have heard so far are we've heard children say that we need freedom to be able to pursue our desires, including education. Then we have had comments about we need to deal with the customs and traditions, especially when it comes to dealing with gender issues in child labor. And then we talked about the value of education for and making sure that our children will never remain child laborers. So those are three main themes that we noticed. We also are now discussing about the unintended negative effects of applying the law, where the children who we want to help are precisely penalized and sent out of work. And from World Vision, from Chetna, and Shireen, the advice is to focus on economic resilience of families, including, I like what Shireen said, how does the family deal with shocks so that the child is not sent into work as a coping mechanism, looking at social protection for children, looking at again education so that our children have a way out of their employment situation. So these are some comments and thoughts that have come to us from our experts. I just want to ask our children if you have any questions that you want to ask our experts. Go ahead, Moses. What is the question?
No, Anmol is asking that what can we do for the betterment of the children who are in the child laborers, who are working as child laborers?
Yeah. Ask him if he has a recommendation. Ask him if he was the prime minister, what would he do to eliminate child labor?
चाइल्ड लेबर बंद करण्यासाठी, बालकामगार बंद करण्यासाठी काय करायला पाहिजे? तुझी काय इच्छा?
If he was a prime minister,
सर गवर्नमेंट ने उन्हें देखना चाहिए कि बच्चे काम क्यों करते हैं। अगर उन्हें काम करने की इच्छा है तो उन्हें पूछना चाहिए कि आपको काम करना अच्छा लगता है या पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है। अगर बच्चे बोलते पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है तो उन्हें काम क्यों करना चाहिए, या उन्हें काम करना अच्छा लगता है या पैसे चाहिए या कोई और ज़रूरत है। अगर उन्हें पैसे चाहिए पढ़ाई करने के लिए तो गवर्नमेंट तो उन्हें मदद करनी ही चाहिए, लेकिन अगर गवर्नमेंट ही मदद नहीं करे तो बच्चे तो एकदम ये हो जाते हैं। अगर दूसरे बच्चे लोग की तरह वो भी देखेंगे कि हमें भी खेलना है, कूदना है, उनके उम्र में उनके जैसा हमें हक मिलना चाहिए, उनसे वो हक छीनना नहीं चाहिए, उन्हें काम वो करना नहीं चाहिए। क्योंकि बड़े लोगों को वो काम सूट करता है, बच्चे लोगों को नहीं। बच्चों को खेलना कूदना, भागना दौड़ना, पढ़ाई करना, यहाँ वहाँ की चीज़ें, ये गेम्स खेलना, ये सब उन्हें अच्छा लगता है। बच्चे लोगों को काम सूट नहीं करता सर।
Moses, you want to translate?
Yeah, children never likes to work, but the condition is there, children has to work. And he is telling that the government need to see that what is applicable for the children, whether they want to work or whether they want to play or go to the school. If they want to play, government has to provide the things to the children so they can easily play and they can live happily with their families.
Sir, one question. Nirmani has one question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
వాళ్ళు ఇప్పుడు చదువుకోవడానికి పిల్లలు ఎవరికైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళకి స్పోర్ట్స్ లో ఎవరికైతే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉందో వాళ్ళు దాంట్లోనే వదిలేద్దామని చెప్తున్నారు. బట్ ఏంటంటే దాంట్లో వదిలేకుండా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనేది స్పోర్ట్స్ తో పాటు ఇంపార్టెంట్ కాబట్టి వాళ్ళకి ఇది నాలెడ్జ్ ఉందని కూడా తెలియని క్యాండిడేట్స్ అంటూ ప్రెసెంట్ ఉన్నారు కదా సార్, వాళ్ళ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఏంటి అంటే
some children they would like to play, but they don't know the importance of education. So the parents should identify the importance of education so that they they have to see that the children should go to the school. Is it considered or not?
Sanjay and Shireen or Rennie, would you want to address that question about this whole right to education and child labor and education is important, but looks like the task has to begin with the parents?
No, like I would say that in this particular case, the parents are in the most difficult situation where they are many a time blamed that they don't want to let children to school. They are not cooperating in the system. But my observation is entirely different. What I think is every parent has a heart and place. So they do not want to see their children on streets or working as child labor. There are the situations which are pushing them in those hardships. Sometimes when you have no options, then every penny counts. So that is why parents start looking for those small earnings by the children. So here I would again like to bring to the attention that if the schools are good, if the earnings are good, if children, if they have a place to live, if they have all facilities government has to provide, because we are a welfare. I don't see any reason that why children, why the parents would like children to go. So I don't buy this statement, but I can empathize with the child who has just said that this is really an irony that because parents don't also have examples. In one of the when we were starting the conversation, one of the child from Mumbai, I think Anmol, he has said that what will be the utility of the education? What we can we fetch a government job, for example? So until unless we have something, some links attached to it, education can make you a complete personality. That is a different thing. But people would like to see vis-a-vis. Can I get a job? Can I get if until unless we have answers to those, it will be difficult for the parents to convince on this ground. So I think we really have to show some good examples to the parents that if they send children, what would be the outcome?
Shireen? Yes. Shireen?
Yes, I agree totally with Mr. J. The relevance and importance of education, the relevance and value of education has to be there, and education has to be a path forward. If parents are going to see that maybe there is a school that has been set up by an NGO and it is going to leave their children nowhere at the end of primary education or a few classes of education, then they have a problem with that. So education has to be a path, like I said earlier, to skills, to training, ultimately to employment. And you know what the problem these days is with so many unemployed youth, the models are far and could be. So that is one. The other reason, of course, is back again to the issue of the larger issue, social protection for the family. If the parents are absolutely desperate for earning and they cannot earn, then obviously out goes the child to school. So it depends on the right choice of policies, the right mix of policies, coherence of policies, and then, of course, setting aside allocations to implement those policies in the programs.
I just wanted to be sure that our friends Sam, Moses, Brahmana, and Kahor, please keep translating it to our children. So if they have any questions they could ask. Let me just raise another question that's come up online. Sam from NDTV has raised this question. Especially when we talk about right to education and using education to get children out of child labor, we put our children from these communities in the most mediocre of schools, where the academic standards are not high, should not these children have a right to education in some of the top schools in the country? Why should they be picking up crumbs from the table rather than be having a right to education in the top schools? Sanjay, Shireen, any advice?
I think, in Delhi, we can see that we have 20% reservations in all top schools for economical weaker sections. Uh, the problem which I can share one of some of the issues which we have faced as the organization when there is a lot of cultural differences in the when the child is on street or working as child labor and when you try to get him or her in a privileged school, that they are not able to match with the entire system. I can buy this idea of sending children to these fancy schools because they should all have equal opportunities. But I think we also need to work upon a system where we are also preparing these children to go to those schools. Because if these schools may come up with the excuse that children are not able to cope up with the normal system, which is again will be a difficult situation. So again, I would say that we have best policies and best opportunities created for the children, but mindset are not that prepared. Just I have seen schools struggling with those issues that they are not giving the proper attention to these children, and they're saying no. If you want to admit a child, then let them also face the music. Let them be have the same equivalent system with the other school children, which I think it will be difficult for a child who is not from that background. Uh, but I think idea is welcome, and we have seen some success stories where the children who have got the taste of education, if you develop a taste of education in any of the child, especially the children into labor, they can do wonders. They can still do wonders. Even in the this time, Delhi schools, in the government Delhi schools have also created history by 98% in 10 standards. So why not we invest more on government school and let it be the place where, and why not we create the standards within the government system to take them to the standard of the private schools, rather than just banking upon the skills of the private schools, which are few in number, and government system is such a high, and numbers are so high that if we invest on them, I think the India government will get best of these children in few years.
So Sanjay is calling for investment in some of the government schools, but I think whether the children can cope with some of the top schools is a question he's raising. But would we develop in the process uh, kind of a two level system where children from the lower class end up in being in some of these mediocre schools is a question we need to address. Let me just go back to a question that was asked earlier. Before I do that, I wanted to ask our children, did your parents know that child labor was illegal, that the law did not permit children to work?
లేదు సార్ అప్పుడైతే అది తెలియదు సార్ ఇప్పుడన్నా మేము ఈ కార్యక్రమం రావడం వల్ల అయితే తెలుస్తుంది సార్ ఈ విషయం.
What did they say, Brahmana?
That time our parents didn't know about this is illegal, but nowadays they know about the child labor is illegal because of awareness created in this area by organization. They know this is illegal, but at that time they don't know about this is illegal.
Okay, now they know. Earlier they didn't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about Moses? Did the parents know it is illegal?
तुमच्या आईवडिलांना माहित आहे की जे कायद्याच्या विरुद्ध आहे बालकामगार?
यस सर, हमारे पेरेंट्स को मालूम है कि ये गुनाह है, बाल मजदूरी गुनाह है.
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Their parents knows it very well.
John, did you talk to your parents saying how come they are making you work or forcing you to work? Did you have any time an opportunity to talk to your parents?
क्या तुम्हें मौका मिला आपके पिताजी से और माताजी से पूछने का कि आप मुझको क्यों बाल कामगार के लिए भेज रहे हो, आपको पता नहीं है?
ऐसा मुझे मौका तो मिला मगर मैंने पूछा नहीं, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट सिर्फ बाल मजदूरी रोकने के पीछे गिरी है, मगर गवर्नमेंट ये नहीं जानती है कि बाल मजदूरी रोकने से क्या होता है, और बाल मजदूरी रोकने से बच्चों को और उनके फैमिली को कितना दुख झेलना पड़ता है। उदाहरण तो मेरा फ्रेंड अनमोल है, उनके माता पिता दोनों अपंग है, हल नहीं सकते और चल नहीं सकते। अगर अनमोल कमाएगा उससे ही उनका घर चलेगा। ऐसे बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं, और पेरेंट्स बच्चे को बड़े करने के लिए बहुत सारे कर्जा भी कर लेती है, और बच्चे बड़ा होने के बाद पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं कि मेरे बच्चे अभी बड़े हो गए, ये कर्जे को वो मिटा सकते हैं, और वही हमसे हरदम बातें करते रहते कि तुम लोग को बड़ा करने के लिए हम लोग ने इतना कर्जा किया है, अपना घर कैसा चलेगा। तो उससे हम लोग को खुद को लगता है कि हाँ, हम लोग कमाना चाहिए।
Hello.
Yes,
Sir,
Moses, go ahead.
John is telling that government is only trying to stop the child labors, but they are not thinking about the rehabilitation of the children. And as you see, the Anmol, he is my friend. His parents are cannot move. His both mother and father is handicapped, and his mother is cannot move. And the parents always tells us that we have spent a lot of money for you in your childhood. We borrowed money, and that is our duty also to make the money for the family. He's telling like this.
Sam, I just wanted to ask the children there, Mariamal, and we have who? Erulapan. Ask them what is their dream for themselves as a child laborer now that they are getting into education. What is the dream that they have about their future?
Nursing, sir. Nursing, sir.
இல்லம்மா, படிச்சிட்ட பிறகு வேலை தவிர நீங்க என்ன ஆகலாம்னு பாக்குறீங்க? பெரியவள ஆகுமே சொல்லுங்க
சார். அதை விட கொஞ்சம் கூட படிக்கணும்னு ஆசைப்படுறேன் சார்.
Sam,
now she is presently studying a course called nursing assistant course, and after completion of this course she would like to pursue the main nursing course, which is 3 years course.
Okay. Erulapan, Jayant is asking a question online. What is your dream for the country? Looking at India as your country, what is your dream for your country? And more specifically in terms of child labor, what is your dream?
சார், முடிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் எல்லாரும் நல்லா படிக்கணும் சார். குழந்தை தொழிலாளர்கள் யாரும் இருக்கக்கூடாது சார்.
Sam, translate.
He would like to see a world where everybody studies and there is no child labor, sir.
A country where everybody studies and there is no child labor. Shireen, I just wanted to ask you as an ILO expert, is this a possibility given the scale of our problem?
This is certainly a possibility. If governments and everybody else puts the effort and force behind it. In fact, in 2006, all the ILO member countries, close to 180 countries, the representatives got together and set a goal for their dream, a goal, concrete goal of elimination of all worst forms of child labor by 2016. Now, at the time that the goal was set, the statistical trends were showing that this could be possible. But then what happened was the economic and financial crisis, and in many places the focus and priority from child labor shifted. So, to answer to your question, very briefly, yes, greater goal, more challenging goals have been achieved, and this is certainly possible if everybody puts force behind it.
Okay, and if it wasn't for the economic a depression in some sense, we probably could have achieved this elimination by 2016.
Come fully on board. I'm not sure that actually happened in the majority of the cases. Governments have to put their force behind it. They have to put their resources behind it. They have to engage their people. It is possible.
Sanjay, you have something to say there?
I would say that like whenever we say that government has to do something, it is something like we are reinventing the wheel. I am again and again saying we have the best laws in place, best system in place. We have integrated child protection scheme. We have around 20 schemes for underprivileged children. What we need to do is to have accountable duty bearers in place. If, I just give you an example. The India has worked very specifically upon eradication of polio, and I have seen that the DMs are very serious and concerned, taking monthly meetings on with the CMOs and medical supervisors of finding any case of polio, and that is how we were successful in eradicating the polio. Why not we work on this direction? If you find any child labor in any district, the DMCR will be put with a red mark. It can happen. I think we need to have a bill in place because we have like all the system is in place. Why the money is not invested properly under these schemes? Why the scheme for underprivileged children is not popularized among in the districts and are linked with the families? Why these NGOs and other people are I'm sorry, I'm using little harsh, but why we all are or not working to make the accountable duty bearers in place? Until we do that, we will again look for options which may look rosy in nature, which are difficult to achieve. We have everything in place. We just need strong will from everybody, including the government, NGOs, ड्यूटी bearers, and also I will say मेरे यहाँ बाल साथी दोस्त भी बैठे हैं कानपुर से, मुंबई से, सुनते हैं मेरी आवाज को, कि हमें भी बाल साथियों को भी आगे आना पड़ेगा. बाल साथियों को भी जो है, जो भी आपकी इच्छाएं हैं, जो भी आप सोचते हैं अपने जीवन में करने के लिए, हमारे सामने बहुत सारे उदाहरण हैं. हमारे देश के 3 राष्ट्रपति ऐसे हैं जो कठिन परिस्थितियों में पढ़कर और देश के राष्ट्रपति बन गए. आपने कलाम साहब का नाम सुना होगा, और भी जी किरण नारायण साहब थे, और उनके बारे में अगर आप उनकी कहानियां पढ़ेंगे तो कोई अखबार बेचता था, कोई नदी पार करके जाते थे, कोई स्ट्रीट लाइट में बैठ के पढ़ते थे, और इतने सारे. तो आपको भी ये मौका छोड़ना नहीं पड़ेगा. आई जस्ट हैड सेड इन हिंदी दैट we the children who are also listening to this program also have onus that they should also, whatever little opportunity they have, if they continue with that, read something, maybe little lesser time, but one thing which I have seen among child labor children, that they have versatile qualities. You have versatile qualities. You have the maximum courage. You can you have the best life skills in as childhood, which the privileged children do not have. Make best use of them, and you can have a best thing. I think we all have to be very.
Okay, let me just quickly highlight one thing which Sanjay said is our children have a huge responsibility and an opportunity to play to address the issue of child labor, report against incidents of child labor, like the way we report about other illnesses, for example, polio. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank our children. We run out of time for our discussion this afternoon. Brahmana, please thank Veeramani and Achut. Moses, please thank Anmol and John. Sam, please thank Mariamma and Erulapan. Kahor, we are very sorry that we could not engage with you, but please thank Shiva, Vandana and Ravi for being with us this afternoon. Every now and then I saw you connecting. Sanjay, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us and sharing your thoughts. And Shireen, thank you very much for giving us a perspective from ILO that in many ways has been a major driver in government policies on child labor. Rennie, thank you very much for joining from World Vision on this. So thank you very much, and I sincerely hope that we can make a small dent in the issue of child labor in our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.